Summer is not even over, and I have already finished all of my summer knitting. I set out this year with the intention of knitting through all of the yarn in my stash that I had earmarked for summer garments, primarily because I hadn't had success with summer garment knitting in the past, and I just kind of wanted to get it out of my system, get the yarn out of my stash, and never look back, never knit a summer garment again, because I was just tired of being disappointed project after project after project. Either something is off with the fit, I didn't like the yarn. And so I figured instead of putting myself through that disappointment again, I would just abandon summer knitting altogether. And that was fully my intention this year. But to my utter shock and delight, I would say that this year has been my most successful year of summer garment knitting. I've only knit 3, which is probably the most I've knit in a year, but they were all hits, hit after hit after hit, to varying degrees, but still I would consider successful overall. And it's crazy because, like I said, I went into this year saying, I am done. I'm just going to get these projects out of my system, and I am never going to knit a tank top or a tee or anything in that realm of garments again. Like, this is it. This is my resignation from summer knitting. Yesterday, I cast on a new sweater. First sweater I've knit in several months. And as soon as I knit that first row, I felt the desire to knit summer garments completely leave my body. Like, I knew on like a primal level that 2025 summer knitting was done. Now that that chapter is closed for the year, why not briefly talk about the successful summer projects that I have managed to knit myself this year. So the first summer knit I made for myself this year was the Sea Breeze sweater vest by Park Williams. I wore this in a recent video. I knit it back in March through April, and I wanted to have it done for a trip that we took to Jamaica in mid-April, and I was able to finish in time for that. And it was really fun to knit. It worked up really fast. I used Patons Grace, which is 100% mercerized cotton in the color black. It is just an all-over mesh fabric and a V-neck vest with 1x1 rib at the neck, the armholes, and the body. Very simple, not a whole lot of complicated techniques in terms of shaping or construction. I think the most difficult part could be the mesh lace stitch pattern. I haven't knit a ton of lace, but I have always found lace to be pretty easy to knit. And I think the challenge is if you make a mistake, figuring out how to fix the mistake. Luckily, there were no major mishaps with this project, and overall, it turned out really, really, really well. I love wearing this with my linen pants. It's also a cute bathing suit cover up, and I've worn it several times so far, and the summer hasn't even begun, so I would say that is a huge success. The second summer knit I also wore in a recent video. It was my Emma top by Suzanne Mueller. It is seamed, knit bottom up in a half brioche stitch. I modified mine to basically duplicate the back pattern, the back panel for both sides. So it had more of a boat neck halter fit at the top instead of a V-neck that the original pattern has. I would highly recommend, if you make that pattern, to make that modification if you don't like the standard V-neck triangle cup tank top shaping that you see in a lot of knitting patterns, which I personally don't really love. So I was very happy with that modification. The only thing that I don't love about how that pattern turned out is how deep the armholes are. And again, I've said all of this before. The yarn I used was the Hobby Lobby yarn Bambootiful, which is 50% cotton, 50% bamboo. The yellow panel was in a color called mustard, and the cream panel is in a color called linen. I think they paired really well together. This is purely a stash busting effort for me because the mustard color, I had a cup, like a skein and 3/4 left over from a previous project. I was racking my brain trying to figure out what to do with it, and then it occurred to me to knit the Emma top, which it's a pattern I purchased years ago, but got intimidated by the stitch pattern and the poor pattern writing, but that's a topic for another day. So I sat on it, and I decided, okay, how about I use the yarn to make this top Unfortunately, Hobby Lobby they don't sell the color mustard anymore. So I got another color and I figured I would make it a two-tone stash busting project, and it worked out really, really well. Would highly recommend. That's the fun thing about it being seamed, was that I was able to do the color block with the different colors on each side. And depending on how I style it, which is under a blazer or a linen shirt, usually because the armholes are so deep, that's really the only way I can wear it. Depending on what vibe I'm feeling, if I'm feeling fun and bright and vibrant, I'll wear the yellow side on the front. If I'm feeling more subdued, more laid back, more low key, I'll wear the linen side on the front. And I think it's a really versatile way to incorporate different colors into a garment without feeling like it's too busy or too much to the eye. So I would highly recommend trying your hand at some type of color blocking effect, especially with the seamed garments. It kind of lends itself really well to doing something like that. And then last but certainly not least is what I'm wearing. So this is my Tonight top by Lily Kate France. This is the second time I've knit this pattern, and oh my gosh, I can't say enough great things about it. So I use the Madro Garn Fine Merino in the color black, 100% merino. It's actually a sport weight yarn. This pattern is for fingering weight yarn, and it has, I believe, a 26 stitch gauge, but I was able to get gauge perfectly with the sport weight yarn, so I think it worked really well. It is wool, but honestly, I'm very comfortable right now. I think it's about 65, 70 degrees outside Fahrenheit. And granted, I'm inside, but we don't have the AC on, and I feel perfectly comfortable, absolutely no itch. I'm so happy with how it feels. I was most nervous about my fiber choice and how wearable it would be, but so far I find it very comfortable, but we'll see. I think this will be a perfect office knit. I cannot wait to wear it to the office for the first time. And the really exciting thing about this project is that it was the first time I used bust darts. So I mentioned that I wanted to try my hand at knitting bust darts when I was talking about the fit issues that I had with my Skyline tee. And this project was my opportunity to try knitting bust darts for the first time. Now, luckily, the pattern is already written to include optional bust darts. The first time I knit this pattern, I ignored those constructions and proceeded without knitting the bust darts. But this time I figured it would be the perfect time to try my hand at the technique while having the pattern hold my hand through it. Being that it's not a technique I've done before, I didn't want to have to self-draft some bust darts and risk messing it up and being even more unhappy with the piece. So I think my first go at it, following a pattern that already included the instructions, was a very low stakes way for me to try out the technique, and I'm really happy I did it this way. I figured I would revisit the Skyline tee pattern and add bust darts there. I don't remember if bust darts are written into the pattern or not. Either way, the version I made did not include them. But it wasn't until I opened up the Tonight top pattern again that I remembered that, oh yeah, there are optional bust darts. So it was like the perfect alignment of knitting goals and project plans. And I'm just really happy that I was finally able to knit some bust darts. Now, I'm no garment fit expert, and I cannot say if it made a huge difference. I will say that the hem is laying very evenly, so we don't have the tinting or the writing up that I've had in other pieces. So if that's the only way I can judge whether these bust darts were a success or not, I guess I could say that the bust darts in this pattern were a success. But I wanted to show you a more close-up, detailed view of them, but honestly, with the black yarn, I can't. I mean, you'll have to take my word that the bust darts were a success. The technique is pretty simple. It's honestly a series of short rows. So Lily Kate designed it with German short rows, which I think are the easiest short rows that I've knit before. I wish I had more to say about my bust dart knitting experience. If you'd like to knit a garment with bust darts for the first time, I would highly recommend seeking out a pattern that already has bust darts written into it so that you don't have to draft your own on a pre-existing pattern. I feel more confident going into future patterns if I would like to modify to include bust starts. I have a baseline experience of what that's like, and if I choose to incorporate the technique in future garment patterns, I'll definitely talk about it more in depth here. But for right now, I just don't feel like I have a lot of knowledge to share about my experience knitting them, because I literally just followed the pattern as written and I achieved a really good result. So if you can take anything away from my bust start knitting experience so far, knit this pattern, I guess. So yeah, I wanted to briefly share the summer knits, the summer garments that I knit this year, because I'm just so happy with how they turned out, I think, especially compared to prior years. And although I went into this year thinking I would be done, I would knit these projects and never come back to them again, I'm changing my tune a little bit because of how much fun I've had this year. So I do think there will be more summer knitting in my future, but for this year, I am done. My brain, my heart, my body, and my soul is back into sweater knitting. This is the last of summer knitting you will see from me in the year 2025. You know, in years past, I've always lamented about my lack of forethought and planning when it came to summer knitting or seasonal knitting in general, because I would always find myself knitting, say, a sweater at the tail end of winter and finishing it just as the weather turns and never having an opportunity to wear it in the season I knit it for until the following year. The same thing held true for my summer knitting. I would really hit my stride with summer knitting in mid-August to early September, just as the summer season is coming to a close, and I would find myself not really getting a lot of wear out of my summer knits in the season that I knit them. It was always really frustrating, and I would always say to myself, you know, I need to get on a schedule where I'm knitting a season ahead of time so that I can finish pieces before the season starts and wear them throughout the entirety of the season. And this year is the first time I've successfully been able to do that. And it wasn't never an intentional plan of mine. I just looked up one day in March, knowing that I was going to Jamaica in April, and I figured what better time to start than now. And it set me on a good foot because I knit 2 other summer garments after that. And here we are in mid-June and I'm already done. It's already out of my system. And I have the whole summer and then some ahead of me to get some really good wear out of these pieces that I knit this year. And similarly, now that I'm back in sweater knitting mode, I'm on pace to finish 2 to 3 sweaters through the course of the summer. And by the time fall and winter rolls around, I will have a handful of brand new sweaters to ring in the season, and I'm really excited. So it feels really good to be on a season ahead with my knitting. Hopefully I can keep this up. But yeah, it's sweater time. I'm back. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.